All right, let's dive into a topic that, honestly, almost every single tech organization struggles with: culture. We're going to talk about how the right kind of culture can be the secret sauce for real innovation and team autonomy.
So, let's kick things off with a question I'm sure you've asked yourself. Why is it that some teams just seem to fly? They ship features, they pivot on a dime, while other teams feel like they're just stuck in mud, buried in meetings and super slow releases. The answer, as we're about to see, has way less to do with their tools and a lot more to do with the world they work in.
So first up, how does something as fluffy as culture actually affect the code a team ships? The actual output. Well, the connection is way more direct than you probably think.
The whole thing really hinges on this incredibly sharp observation from way back in the 60s. The idea is simple but powerful. Your software architecture is basically going to be a mirror image of your company's communication structure. Think about it. If you have teams in silos that need 5 layers of approval just to talk to each other, guess what you're going to build? A big, clunky, monolithic system. It's almost like a law of physics for software.
Here's a great way to picture this. Imagine a rigid top-down culture as a single, monolithic relational database. Every request, every little change has to go through one central administrator. Sure, it's controlled, but man, is it slow. You have a single bottleneck that dictates the speed of the entire system. Sound familiar?
And this really leads us to 2 totally different ways of operating. Over on the left, you've got that command culture. That's our slow, centralized database. But on the right, you have a context culture, which is much more like a modern distributed system. Teams have autonomy, they have ownership, and they can move fast because they're not all waiting in line for that one central bottleneck.
Okay, but that raises a huge question, right? If you just give teams all this freedom, how do you keep things from descending into complete and utter chaos? How do you actually lead in an environment like that?
The answer is this brilliant principle called context, not control. And this is a massive shift. A leader's job isn't to dictate the how anymore. No more micromanaging. Instead, your job is to provide crystal clear strategic context, the why. Why are we doing this? Who is it for? What problem are we solving? And once the team truly gets the context, they're the ones empowered to figure out the best way to get it done.
And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. This is exactly how high-performing teams work in the real world. This quote says it all. The leader's role becomes about hiring amazing people, giving them the context, and then, and this is the hard part, getting out of their way. You have to trust your team. That trust is the fuel for innovation.
So, I can hear the skeptics now. All this freedom, all this lack of control, doesn't that just create a giant mess? I mean, isn't chaos just bad?
Well, let's really challenge that idea. Can chaos be a good thing? In old school management, yeah, chaos is the enemy. You want to stamp it out. But in a true culture of innovation, a little bit of it isn't just okay, it's absolutely essential. It's the messy space where all the new ideas are born.
Now, this is the crucial part. We are not talking about a total free-for-all here. It's about controlled chaos. Innovation doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It thrives inside a safe space that's defined by clear boundaries. You don't want chaos that puts the company at risk, but you absolutely want the kind of chaos that challenges old assumptions and pushes everyone to find better ways of doing things.
So how do you manage it? Well, it's a framework, really. First, you set really clear goals. Then you empower the right people. But you also establish firm boundaries, the guardrails to keep things safe. And then, leadership only steps in at the most critical decision points. It's how you guide innovation without strangling it.
Okay, so let's put all the pieces together. If you want to actually build this kind of culture, what are the concrete steps? Let's break down the action items.
So here are the big takeaways. You've got to give your teams real autonomy. You have to learn to tolerate that controlled chaos, keep your team small and empowered. The classic 2-pizza team rule. This forces tight communication and fast decisions. Foster a sense of true ownership by focusing on long-term products, not short-term projects. And finally, really try to build fresh, simple solutions instead of just piling complexity onto old ones.
All right, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with one final thought. A question you can take right back to your own team.
Let's bring it all the way back to the beginning. If your company's structure directly shapes your software structure, then you really have to ask yourself this tough question. Is your slow, bureaucratic culture holding your code hostage? Is it preventing your systems from being as fast, agile, and resilient as they could be? It's a pretty provocative question, I know, but it is one that's absolutely worth thinking about.
And that's it for this one. If you found this helpful, do me a favor and share it with your team. Get the conversation started. And of course, subscribe for more explainers just like this one. Thanks for tuning in.